History's going to measure whether we're up to the task. I believe we are. Please get vaccinated. That's how we put this pandemic behind us. The cabinet looks like America.
Look great.
I'm so proud to meet you.
About the importance of getting vaccinated.
A monumental step forward to build back better as a nation.
Let's try it.
Where's the Taliban?
Starving people.
Christmas for the Taliban. Yo, Biden.
Usually when I propose this, but I don't care. I don't need a seconder. My own opinion is enough for me, and I claim the right to have it defended against any consensus, any majority, anywhere, any place, any time. And anyone who disagrees with this can pick a number, get online, and kiss my hand.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed are greater than the legal services provided by other lawyers. I'm Harry Steele. You found the Backstory Podcast number 114, our special Festivus edition, where we get to gripe about everything that doesn't suit us right down to the ground. So you know it's going to be a good one. Have my client and partner in crime, Mr. Paul Ripp, in the studio today with me. How are you, Mr. Ripp?
Very good, and never lacking something to talk about in the land of Baldwin County.
And Mr. Russian, you are on the back side of the front that is blowing through here now. We're both in short sleeves and shorts.
For a little while.
It's raining, and right now the wind's still blowing out of the south. I'm no meteorologist, but I think there's going to be some bad tornadoes along that front line.
Wouldn't doubt it.
So how about you, Raines? What's up out there?
Well, we got to experience what I coined yesterday as the golden corral of weather. We had a 50-degree temperature swing in 24 hours. It went from 87 as the high to 37 as the low this morning. Damn. And it is blowing, gusting about 35, 40 miles an hour right now, about a steady 25. And it's cold, finally, in East Texas. But don't worry. We'll walk over to the chocolate fountain and it'll back up to 88 next week before it gets actually cold, before we get actual winter here.
No such thing as global warming, though.
No, deny it.
Right.
So does everybody know the rules of Festivus?
No.
Well, you get to air grievances and feats of strength, which I'm not going to perform any of those today. But
I have both prepared.
So lawsuit uncovers value of privately owned Baldwin County Sewer Service.
We've been covering this for 114 podcasts.
Yeah, and they don't have an ability to repay this debt in the this is the $1 million sewer swimming pool case, right?
Right.
So anyway, you know what's lacking from all of this, Raines? Any kind of law enforcement interest in all of this.
Yeah, and here's something I'd like to say about that, Harry, and I don't know whether you noticed this or not, Raines, but, Lanyap puts some of their articles in a series, and the other day I was scrolling and looking up information on Baldwin County Sewer, and I went to their series page, and it's like 4 or 5 pages long of backdated issues on Baldwin County service, people should really go back and read that.
They should read this article in particular because it talks about his place in Costa Rica and his fishing boat.
Right.
And Paul, you know a little bit about that part of the country. Where he is down there is not what you think of as where the Iran-Contra affair happened.
No.
This is a beautiful, like an Acapulco type town on the Caribbean.
Correct. Multi-millionaires all living there, people of every country running with their money, hiding their money.
Because they will extradite you for murder but not for financial crimes.
Correct. Financial crimes, it's hard to get anybody extradited anywhere in Central America.
And, I attended the straw man trial, and I never saw Mr. Burke in the courtroom. Not one time. That's one of the things, that's my only criticism of Gabe's covering of this story, is that I never heard that out of it.
How do you not show up for court?
I don't know. I'll assure you they would find you, Mr. Rip, if you didn't show up for a court date. Okay, so speaking of just unbelievable, inexplicable stuff.
Really, nothing could have been more bizarre, and probably will continue, like the McSherry case in Fairhope, which...
But Paul says watch and wait,
right,
because he'll do it again.
He will.
Like you said before.
I said
before.
Two times before he'd do it again, and he'll do it again. He bought his way out this time, but that's good. Sometimes money's justice, and I'm glad that Paula Donardi was able to walk away, at least being compensated.
I hate the Little Whiskey Christmas Club got drug into it, and their insurance.
It'll end up being dropped.
So, on to the Festivus. So, the reason I'm upset about the performance of Chris Elliott is I'm one of the Kool-Aid drinkers that helped him get in there, even after his dismal performance on the county commission.
Yeah, well,
I thought, well, it's just him didn't have his feet under him or whatever.
I didn't trust him from the very onset, and he's proven it over and over and over again. And I hope that people have looked at what he has done the last 3 or 4 years and choose somebody else this time coming up in 22, please.
Oh, yeah, that's coming up, right? Get announced by January 22nd.
Right. It was Orange Beach that put him in there last time. Thank you, Orange Beach.
Right.
Look what that did for us.
So, do you remember this story?
Yeah, you got to be pretty much of a narcissist to order a statue of yourself.
Life-size statue of myself, and then they put it in the basement, $75,000.
I would want them, if it was of myself, I'd want to make it about, 12 pounds lighter.
Okay, so I'm watching the Today Show or whatever it was, and I'm walking through the room, and I see all these hippie-looking sumbitches like you riding around on boats in their little 70s bathing suits, throwing tires off.
That's 1970s.
Pushing them off of barge, right? Pushing them off of barges, making reefs,
right,
off of Fort Lauderdale. Well, it turns out that nothing will grow on a tire, and all that happens is the salt water causes all the chemicals to leach out and kills everything.
That's why they stopped doing it.
Stop doing it. Do you know how many millions of acres of tires are on the bottom of the off the shelf of Florida?
Well, I can tell you that Panama City,
unbelievable.
Panama City to Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, they jumped on it pretty fast as far as cleaning up sites that they because they used to dump cars with fluids in them, and all of that stopped. We cleaned up St. Andrews Bay back in the 70s. And it was amazing what was just right in that marina.
No, but Paul, I thought I was watching some shit in Nicaragua or something like somebody polluted, somebody just hoodwinked the government and some little backwater fly speck in the middle of the Caribbean, and they dumped a bunch of tires. Shit, no, this was Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Their tourism industry.
Well, fish will still gather around it. It won't grow any coral or stuff. But
no, it's too slippery for anything to attach to. Won't even grow an oyster on it.
All right.
Anyway, I'm going to be cleaning up your mess for the rest of my life, Paul Rip.
I didn't throw any tires in there.
So, another one. New technology to help the police.
Those are all over
track
Fairhope.
Speeding.
Next thing comes a camera that gives you a ticket.
Yeah, but okay. So let's talk about the police report. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. The Festivus of it. They got all this technology, but when it comes to a police report, they can't seem to fill out the important parts of the document.
Uh-oh. Where are we going? You're talking about the one on the
apparently somebody hit a pier November 22nd.
21st, yeah, that was the case on the 21st that we're trying to look into. We FOIA requested, it was reported on the news that 5 juveniles were in a boat. The boat hit a pier. One was in critical condition. And that was it. We didn't hear anything else. Nobody followed up on it, nothing. And then it started leaking out through a podcast with allegations that Judge Norton's son was driving the boat. And that set off a bunch of curiosity among us that would like to know the truth of what was going on. So we filed a FOIA request with the Fairhope Police, which they very promptly, I must say, fulfilled. And what we got was an Alabama Uniform Incident Offense Report. However, what was lacking on the report was a accurate address of the pier, and it lists a 2019 Sportsman open-top single-engine boat. Now, anyone that knows anything about boats, the ID of a boat is on the front. That's just like your license tag.
Can you imagine that they wouldn't write down the essentially the tag number?
The tag number. Well, the address. The address is listed as a block on Scenic Highway, but on the block on Scenic Highway is almost 50, 60 houses. And you can't go to the bay off of
I'd look for the one with the leaning boathouse.
Right. Well, you're going to hear a lot more about it because there are several other people that are looking into it. Now, what the Fairhope police are saying is that Aaliyah was called in, which I find extremely interesting because, we've had people killed in Baldwin County. The Baldwin County Sheriff's Office has been involved, and Aaliyah's never called in. So all of a sudden, Aaliyah is called into this, and the Marine Patrol also would be the ones to make a report on it. So we're on standby here to see what happens, but it's like I told a friend of mine, when you got 5 kids in a boat, you can't keep a secret, so it'll all leak out. And let me say, my only interest in this at all is not the kids that are involved or the incident or whatever. God knows I did stuff like this. Thank God I didn't hurt anybody. But did the judge interfere with a investigation? That's the question. That's the question that I'm interested in having answered.
Good luck, Grasshopper.
Oh, yeah, I'll find out. Don't worry.
So, is there no bottom to what people are capable of?
Absolutely none.
This chick in Columbus, Georgia, sex trafficked her 5-year-old to this guy who murdered her. I mean, do you think either one of them are ever going to see a courtroom? They're going to fall down an elevator shaft, or
you don't want to go
hang themselves with a seatbelt,
and you don't want to go to jail with that tagged on you either, because you'll be in solitary confinement the entire time. Keep you away from population.
Let's hope so. So why can't anybody have a good time anymore?
Really?
I remember the good old days when an assistant state attorney drove through a fence and you helped them, get their damn car towed and gave them a ride home.
Mm-hmm. Well, that might have been what happened down at the Bay.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That's exactly what happened.
I can't imagine why I put those back to back. So, we're going to tear down a perfectly good police station across the street.
Yep.
The sheriff's department's going to move into it. The city of Bay Minette's going to spend $8 or $9 million on a new justice center so that the county can tear down these buildings that you're looking at here and build a new tower in their place.
That's what Baldwin County's legacy is going to be.
That's our priority, gentlemen.
That's what Bay Minette's legacy is going to be. That's some real guidance by the mayor there, I tell you.
Tallest building in town. It's the jail. Oh, and by the way, just a reminder, we now have 2 classifications of citizen in Alabama. Not only do we live in a police state, but we live in a state where if you're law enforcement or law enforcement adjacent, the laws don't apply to you.
Right. Can have those tinted windows a lot darker.
Right. They got a good reason for it.
But you can't.
To conceal who they are.
Right. But you can be given a ticket for having them too dark.
That's right. So, anyway.
Welcome to Alabama.
It's disgusting, despicable, and I can't imagine who in the world would be for special privileges for anyone. Equal protection, people.
Good for the goose, good for the gander.
Okay, so I'm rich. You guys, you can defend the Biden administration and Fauci and all this, but here we go again.
What the hell? What do you mean here we go again?
Skyrocketing.
Well, wait a minute.
Shocking, disturbing, because we didn't have any. Remember, everybody was trying to get a test before they got on a plane to make sure they weren't sick. We had this new variant. Didn't have enough tests for everybody. Anyway, I got tested on Thursday, and it was negative.
And it's hard to get tests
Wednesday.
around here. Very hard.
No. Here?
Yep.
No, I drove to the health department.
I went to three drugstores, Sam's, and Walmart. Every one of them were out.
Go to the Alabama Health Department. Robertsdale.
They told me they were out.
Well, they might have been that day. But
Yeah.
That's where I've had no trouble. So Alabama's perpetually underfunded court system agreed to give 33% of all e-filing revenue to a company partially owned by former Lieutenant Governor Steve Windham, probably upwards of $100 million over the past 10 years.
Go figure, right in
Why
your face.
in the world am I paying a monthly fee to have access to this? And here's the genius of it. All of the input into this system is done by lawyers
Right.
or the clerk's office.
Right.
All they're doing is
Sharing it.
warehousing the information and giving people access to it. So anyway, Gabe did a hell of a story about it, and guess what? Nobody else in the state has the sack to
Right.
tell this story.
Just
and
right.
by the way, the first rule of Fight Club is that we don't talk about Fight Club, and when I say Fight Club, I mean the Alabama State Bar, and we'll get to that in a little while. And you'll see why I keep trying to tell you guys, every time I open my mouth on this podcast, I'm tap dancing on a landmine.
Well, you're admitting to
But
that.
Steve Windham can
do what he
operate with
wants.
impunity. He's still got a law
Well,
license.
what about, Rob Holbert's Damn the Torpedoes in this edition? There's much to learn in 21. He talks about the Alabama Systems Office. He wrote a great deal about that. And the University of Alabama. Then he went on to write a good bit about the Alabama Ethics Commission, Tom Albritton, which we'll get into a little bit more. And then the Baldwin County Sheriff not producing camera footage, and great articles on there. And no one, absolutely no one picked it up. No one in the state. The executive director of the Ethics Commission is self-dealing $120,000 to himself, and nobody picks a story up. And the University of Alabama Systems Office is doling out money to people sometimes that aren't even working there, early retirement, whatever. Nobody says a word. RSA is even involved in it. No one says anything about RSA, and RSA right now is hell-bent on doing what they want to down there at Point Clear, whether Point Clear likes it or not.
So you do realize that all of the extraterritorial planning jurisdictions are no more. You see this area outside of Bay Minette right there?
Right.
And outside of Fairhope right here?
Right.
Those are the extraterritorial planning jurisdictions that all went away because of Chris Elliott. Mm-hmm. So guess where all the explosive growth is going to happen?
Right
here, all out here in the PJ.
Right. That's
and
why
this is all by design, people. Wake up.
Well, now that's why you have the Planning Zoning District 8 and Planning Zoning District 37 right out of Fairhope. Those of you that are in unzoned property, you better vote for zoning. That'll be February 14th. And we'll be talking about coming up, and we'll be talking about that more. But if you're in unzoned property, then you don't have any bitch what they may build right next to you.
So I want to show people some things that might be kind of shocking to them. You see Fairhope right here, the green.
Yeah.
Okay. You see Daphne.
Right.
Highly populated, right?
Right.
See Spanish Fort.
Right.
So you know where Burns Lake is, Range, right here.
Yep.
Did you know all that property along Bromley Road, all the way up damn near to Bay Minette, is Spanish Fort now? They don't have any sewage infrastructure. Their sewer is Baldwin County Sewer Service. Same thing. See this blob right here? You know the little town of Loxley that you know right down here? Is that shocking that all of that, including Steelwood, is in there?
Yep. They'll wake up one morning with a raise, double the rates, and not be able to do a thing if they don't get it regulated.
Yeah.
And the county commission goes on and on about, there's nothing we can do about Baldwin County Sewer.
And look at Foley getting way over here.
I also think
you see Orange Beach has come over and trying to get into Josephine, some of this property over here that belongs to Mr. Barber. And it looks like some of Loren's property got in there. I need to talk.
It's really misleading too that they call it Baldwin County Sewer System, because a lot of
LLC.
People, a lot of people do believe that that's involved with the county. They think it's a county thing.
So, major disappointment in my practice. You remember this crushing order?
Oh yes, this was.
I hereby
Ryan
reverse
Peters.
my June 8th order. Yeah.
The Ryan Peters case.
Yeah. The temporary conservator's petition for final settlement and payment of costs will be considered the final settlement.
Keep hearing cases about probate court and then no one's held accountable.
Okay.
No Mr. Peters never even got a hearing.
I'm really kind of pissed that no one. So back in my day,
yep.
We used to go to Judge Roy Bean's on Christmas Eve. And why don't you describe it to people, Paul?
Well, I'll tell you what. I had come here from a third world country, lived in Belize, Central America at the time, and I went to Judge Roy Bean's not long after I was here, and I was absolutely amazed. It was a death trap. It was a fire trap. Everybody in there was completely drunk. I'm not talking about drinking. I'm talking about drunk.
It had what do you call it? Like cottonseed sacks hanging from the ceiling and burlap everywhere.
I could just see it go
bras
poof.
Hanging from the.
I could just see it go poof. It wasn't too long after that they finally tore the damn thing down. But I was utterly amazed that anyone could have a business license in that place. Actually, looked like it was out from the 1830s or something.
Yeah, but it was a cool place.
Oh yeah, and places like that always are cool.
And of course, the goat's running wild inside. Yeah, and the one-legged cat and all that weird.
And you see the sign is in Spanish restaurante.
Oh yeah. So, what feats of strength do you have in mind, Mr. Russian? Are you going to break an egg in your hand like that?
No. I guess they're statements of strength, stuff that I'm not scared to say. In the new year. One is I'll come out and say this because I did a lot of we did a lot of movie watching this Christmas, because people in my family have had COVID and things like that, and we all kind of bunkered down for Christmas and the New Year. So if you haven't watched the new Matrix movie yet, Matrix Generations,
don't.
If you're a fan, don't. It's absolute
ass
trash, just garbage. I couldn't believe it. My family and I watched it the other night, and I literally said, you know what? I'm just done. I'm done. I got up and walked out. I said,
I got 45 minutes into it. 45 minutes.
It's absolutely ridiculous. All of it. It's just complete and utter garbage, and I can't understand why they did that to it. But it is what it is. Also, the best and worst Christmas Eve movie I've ever seen is Don't Look Up by Adam McKay, the guy that brought us Vice and the Big Short, one of the most terrifying movies ever made. Don't Look Up is about two astronomers that are trying to inform the U.S. government that a comet is going to strike Earth and kill everyone. And it's about the government not doing anything about it, and the different social media campaigns that come with it, and how the America reacts to it. And there's people that'll say it's new and it's edgy and it's really kind of an analogy for climate change. But I'm going to be the strong guy and say I appreciate the movie. It was a good movie. It had a great amount of existential dread. But I've already seen Dr. Strangelove, buddy, and Stanley Kubrick did a better job of it. And Stanley Kubrick's take on it was all a little tongue in cheek, but I got to tell you, Adam McKay put together like 9 Oscar winners in one movie, which has got to be a record. And it came out to be a great film. But after watching it end to end, I'm like, you know what? I was already kind of prepared for this because I've seen Doctor Strangelove, and there's really no better take.
So let me give you AL.com's 8 biggest political issues facing Alabama lawmakers in 2022.
Who wrote this?
It says by the AP.
Yeah.
Pandemic relief funds, how to spend over $1.5 billion in state relief funds from the American Rescue Plan. Congress allocated $2.12 billion for Alabama through the American Rescue Plan. The state has so far received $1 billion and has $580 million remaining after using $400 million for prison construction and $80 million to reimburse hospital and nursing homes. Key lawmakers say infrastructure projects to be among those purposes used. Gun permits. Lawmakers are expected to again debate legislation that would do away with the need to get a permit to carry a concealed handgun. The legislation known as constitutional carry to proponents has been introduced for several years, but has never passed as it faced opposition from law enforcement. Imagine that. The next one is abortion. They're doing the $10,000 Alabama Heartbeat Act. If you know of anyone who participated in an abortion after the baby had a heartbeat, turn them in, make them a criminal, and get yourself a $10,000 reward. Gambling, lottery, and casino legislation will again be introduced in Alabama's upcoming legislative session with the goal of getting the measure before voters in November, but the outlook for the proposal is unclear. Some leaders in the House of Representatives have expressed skepticism that the bill will get a vote this year. Republican Senator Greg Albritton of Atmore said he plans to propose a constitutional amendment that would include a state lottery, a compact with the Porch Creek Band of Indians. We know how that's worked out for us in the past.
We have.
And a yet-to-be-determined number of other gaming sites. Gaming legislation has failed in the past sessions under a mix of conservative opposition and crushing amounts of money coming from out of state to make sure we stay barefoot and pregnant.
And remember, people, this is 21 years since the gambling lottery came up under Don Siegelman, and here we are 21 years talking about the exact same thing while billions and billions need money for prisons, want to build that damn bridge, health care. There's all kind of things that we need money for, but no, let's don't get that lottery. Let's export those dollars.
Okay, well, under the same umbrella in my mind is the education bill.
Well,
Representative Senator Arthur Orr of Decatur is proposing an overhaul in math education that would include more math coaches and school summer program and interventions. Eventually, in 2028, fifth graders would have to be able to pass shit that everybody else in the world can pass, along with reading promotion requirements. Whatever. Here's another very important thing: removing racist language from the Constitution of 1901. Let's just set it on fire. And then another one that's, of course, an issue to all three transgender people that want to have this in Alabama. Lawmakers could again debate an attempt to forbid doctors from providing gender-confirming hormone treatment, puberty blockers, or sex reassignment surgery to treat transgender minors. All three of them that want to cut their wieners off. You know, and that's between them and their doctor.
Oh, that's them.
In what other situation do we go into a room and say, "I'm sorry, we're intervening here in your
abortion,
liberty,
in
your liberty." And election year influence. The Alabama Legislature are up for re-election this year for lawmakers seeking another term. This session brings the last opportunity to shore up their record before voters make their decision. This traditionally brings a flurry of legislation and resolutions that legislators believe will appeal to their voters, so expect them to propose a statue to President Trump or something stupid as hell. This is the legislative session where all the idiotic things come to pass.
Well, I mean, the gun thing is, you got the sheriff and the police saying, please, don't take away the requirement for permits, and then you got legislators that are wanting to drop it so we can just go buy a gun. Anybody. Insanity.
Nope.
And we're killing people every night.
No. Let me tell you where you're wrong, Paul Rip.
Oh, boy.
So I think it's February 1st. It may be today, but I'm thinking it's February. There's a new database coming online, and it's a naughty Santa list, and it's available for all law enforcement in Alabama, right? Kind of like NCIC. So unless you're on that list, there's no reason for you not to have a weapon concealed. Why should you have to pay for a permit for it? We've already got the information. That's their point. Law enforcement knows who you are. You've given up all your rights. So why in the hell do I have to go pay $15 to haul smack for every year for a permit? I shouldn't have to. So the origins of Festivus. Many Christmases ago, I went to buy a doll for my son. I reached for the last one, but so did another man. As our rain blows upon him, I realized there had to be a better way. Rains, this fella was charged with trafficking cocaine and opium anyway, supposedly large amounts. Mark Zuckerberg, named Scoundrel of the Year.
Scoundrel of the Year?
Yeah.
Who named him Scoundrel of the Year?
Newsweek.
Wow. Silent Night.
Yeah, Oreo Speedwagon made a Christmas album. I'm telling everybody just to skip it. Booster shots against symptomatic Omicron infection. Anyway, we're all up for boosters. Fauci's now saying maybe 4. We may need 4 shots to be considered vaccinated. Alabama is getting 780 courses of the Pfizer COVID drug
Paxlovid.
There we go. That's why they won't give it to us. Okay, so shit that makes me mad when I find out about it after the fact. Did you know that snapper season was open until like December 29th?
No, not until I saw just a blip of it the other day.
Okay. So if I have to keep track of, and I have to get an app, and I have to text the government how many snapper I have on board before I bring it on shore, why can't they just say, you know what, Mr. Steele, we're going to let you have 50 pounds of red snapper, and you can catch them whenever you want to?
That's too easy.
It's not very much red snapper.
Well, I don't care. I'd rather do that than fool with all this bull crap, and I could go out one time and catch all my. Maybe it's 100 pounds.
Well, have you seen, some of the COVID tests where you have to get the app and then you have to answer the questions and then you have to do the survey, then you've got to watch the video. Have you seen that one? Oh, my gosh. I'm telling you, by the time I got through the instructions, I said, okay, I'm going to die.
Yeah. Okay, Rains, did you see this?
Yep.
I mean, the
Getting
last thing.
Dangerously close again.
This is all so stupid.
Nope. That's
brinksmanship. And I've talked it into the ground.
I know, but that's all Putin has. Everybody's just sitting around in their little hovels drinking vodka, praying for the cold release of death. And, what he's trying to whip them up into some frenzy that they need to go take back the Ukraine.
He does not want the Ukraine in NATO.
That's that's it. Double underline what Paul said.
That's it right there. Doesn't want them
He doesn't want
NATO.
anyone else in NATO.
He doesn't want NATO bordering his border.
All right. Well, I'm tired of it.
I am very tired of it.
So another one for our Festivus.
Which is going to
Mr.
go
Rip
into
is again
2022.
having to expend time, money, and resources to do the job that the Alabama Ethics Commission refused to do in the first place.
And has
are
never
the
done.
allegations that he made in his...
Right. And the Bar Association and the Judiciary and the Attorney General, who now is representing the Ethics Commission against us. You can't make this up, folks.
And he got ragdolled in the courtroom by me.
Yep. And this is going to be going into 2022, so we're going to keep you informed as to what's going on.
All right. So Festivus issue number 3000, does the Alabama State Port Authority need to create a new island for dredge disposal in Upper Mobile Bay? 1,200-acre wetland. So anyway, I did speak with the lady who is the director of PR at the Port Authority.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me that she felt like that was relatively unfair, all this coverage, and that at the request of the Port Authority, because they said it looked like the Corps tried to slide this in during Christmas where nobody would comment, they've extended the comment period.
Right.
So you have another month to send the Corps of Engineers a letter and tell them whether or not you think this is a good idea. Now, you need to go read this article and follow the links to it so you can look at what they actually are proposing and don't just take our word for it. Make an informed decision. That's another Festivus.
And part of the
pisses me off.
Lanyap this week was pump the brakes. Stakeholders asked for more time on the port's wetland project. And as Harry said, this is 1,200 acres that you are not going to be able to fish on. You're not going to be able to canoe. You're not going to be able to do anything on it. 1,200 acres. Dr. Judy Stout, former scientist at Dauphin Island Sea Lab, who research has focused on vegetated coastal wetland systems, including emergent marshes and marine grass beds, expressed her own concerns about the project this week. My impression is that it's so close in proximity to very heavily and healthy grass beds, and although I haven't seen the bathymetric map of the site, the area would seem quite suitable for future growth of grass beds. Certainly, building a new wetland habitat is also desirable, but this is what I like. Certainly, building a new wetland habitat is also desirable, but how do you pit one habitat against another? And that's what I think
because we
people
need
to think.
this habitat to get rid of our spoilage.
Right, and remember, folks, this is
Dredge spoilage.
1,200 acres that they're going to fill up, and right above that is Berry Steam Plant with tons and tons of coal ash.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get to
just
them
right
in a
next
minute.
to the river.
So this
know,
this is a
there's one
depiction.
thing that,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I had someone reach out to me over social media and ask me a pretty interesting question that never gets asked whenever things like this come up. And I'll put it out there because I have the answer to it. Why don't the people that are in charge of dredging in Mobile Bay, why don't they just dump it into the ocean? I mean, it's right there.
Money.
Why not just haul it out to sea and dump it? Well, a couple of reasons. One, there's a thing called the Marine Protection Research and Sanctuaries Act, all right, which makes it against the law to do that. You can't just take dredge spoil out of a bay somewhere and dump it into the ocean. You have to have a permit through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and it has to be at a particular site. You can't just dump it freely into the Gulf of Mexico. Secondly, I happen to know people intimately familiar with people that have worked hopper dredges in Mobile Bay, and anybody who does anything around Mobile Bay knows that if you either stick to the intercoastal or you stick to the bay, the mouth of Mobile Bay is not terribly fun to navigate for barges full of dredge spoil, and it makes it extremely prohibitive with fuel costs to take it out to a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers approved dumping site, which is about 30 miles offshore. Now, Harry, I don't know if you've ever driven a 60-foot Hatteras 30 miles offshore, but you got to hold the wheel pretty well. Now, imagine pushing, I don't know, 10 or 15 dredge spoil loaded barges out with a single tug. That's not a good idea either. So you've got to find a way to dance with the one who brought you. So it goes, and in this case, boy, did they ever bring a sack to put over her head, because this is a crap plan. It's a garbage plan. But again, it raises the question of what do you do with it? What can you do with it? Well, there's lots of things you can do with it that aren't this.
That's right.
That's right. There's got to be
This
other
is the
options.
cheapest alternative.
Correct. And
that's all it is.
And the closest proximity.
Oh, hell. Okay.
Oh,
so
God, here we go
just
again.
when we thought You know, Governor Ivey said it was dead. There have been 3 or 4 reiterations of this thing, and now we've come back with a $2.1 billion I-10 toll bridge with a $2.50 toll for passenger cars, but it's going to be like $15 for tractor trailers, and they're never going to pay that.
They're never going to.
Do you know what the number one job for men is in America? Driver. That's right.
And what I think so interesting about it is that you've got so many politicians that just laid down the banner that there would be no tolls.
Hey,
we're not going to take
out.
any money from the federal government or anything else, and here they are again. With, I don't know, this is 4th or 5th time they've been to the table before they could ever all agree anyway.
Well, just remember, Billy Joe and some other people pulled their support back in 2020.
Right.
So what's changed about the project?
Nothing. Just everybody's told to get on board now.
Well, I think this might affect the county commission races.
Well, I think it might do that, and also I think that Mobile better be thinking twice about it, because if you think that $2.50 toll will make no difference for people coming to Mobile, you're wrong.
Well, where's August Landmesser in all this?
Where is he?
Well, it's kind of like Finding Waldo. You see him, right? See what everybody else is doing?
Hitler. Yeah.
Where the hell's that guy?
Yeah, really.
Nowhere to be found. Everybody's like this asshole. Just do what everybody next to you's doing. There you go. It must be a great idea, because the consensus is between Sandy Stinson and Jack Burrell that this is the thing we need to do.
And I-10 goes from Jacksonville, Florida to California, folks. There's not a toll anywhere on that road.
And
we're going to be the toll state.
And this is what's funny. You got all these guys down here playing with these developers, right?
Right.
And
Same
then
people.
And then you got Katie Britt, who is the former head of the Business Council of Alabama, saying this is a bunch of bull crap.
Right.
Now, do you think that's her opinion or the Business Council's opinion, or both? I'd say both.
I'd say probably both.
I don't think anybody in the Business Council is in favor of this thing.
No.
I think it's a bunch of politicians and a bunch of engineering companies.
It is. That's exactly what it is. And probably it's not going to happen anyway. Somebody else is going to have to do it.
If we can't afford the damn bridge, don't build it.
Look,
when it becomes a priority, we will find a way to fund it.
Right. But, here's the problem that a lot of people don't think about in Alabama. You're looking at the bridge, but you're not paying attention to the whole picture. Look at our prison system. We had to take $400 million of our COVID relief money to put into a $1 billion package to build new prisons. Now, let's say the feds step in, or let's say they step in, which they are on the prisons, or let's say they step in and say, hey, wait a minute, because there's a court case on the $400 million, and they say you can't use the $400 million. Well, what do you think is going to happen with the bridge then? If you can't fix the prisons, you ain't building the bridge.
Okay, well, I need to explain something to you. And I don't. Do you remember those old George Wallace commercials where he had the mason jars with pennies in them, and you never seen? I'll find it and see if I can't throw it up. But anyway, he was basically talking about how all the money in Alabama is earmarked, right? So you got this pot of money and this pot of money and this pot of money. So you're really talking about two different pots of money, because transportation money comes from gasoline tax that flows from the feds down to the states and so forth, plus appropriation bills that have nothing to do with gasoline taxes. Just a nice view from somewhere on the causeway. I thought we'd talk a little bit about you already talked a little bit about the University of Alabama and their spending. Joe Bonner's contract, rent-free home, free utilities and insurance, home office, $525,000.
About $625,000 a year total.
I mean, I think this is a fair thing to bitch about for a guy that has never taught anybody anything that I know of. Never taught a class.
That's an obscene salary. Come on. You want to pay a lobbyist or what?
So, saving America's Amazon, and here's where we're getting to so does everybody know we have a Mardi Gras society, the Comic Cowboys?
Yeah.
And they put all these floats up. I particularly like this one.
I do too. Alabama looks like a bunch of ash holes to us. Well, you know what was interesting is in the Lanyap this week as well, a cathedral to him, scientists with local connections. Remember E.O. Wilson, we talked about him before, also known as the Ant-Man. This is by Dale Leash. He is the father of biodiversity, and his Mobile connections are what made Wilson the perfect person to coin the term biodiversity, as the area is home to one of the most biologically diverse areas in North America, the Mobile-Tensaw Delta. Now, this article is in the paper at the same time that we're talking about them pumping the brakes on dredge material. And then, we've been going over of course, the coal ash. And we just don't seem to be listening to any of our scientists or people that know what they're talking about or taking care of what we have. I've mentioned this before. I used to live in Belize, and I saw them take the resources of Belize on the reef, not pay attention to it, and almost kill their tourist industry by not paying attention to the environment. The 5 rivers in the Mobile-Tensaw Basin, America's Amazon. I'm telling you, I just can't believe that we're having these conversations about coal ash and dredge material right there. Do what?
It said, "Don't shoot yourself."
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
All right, so just some more environmental stuff. In North Alabama, they're having, the purple pecker snail darter is now an endangered species, and you can't do anything at the Cahaba. Meanwhile, we auction off an area twice the size of Florida in waters deeper than Deepwater Horizon off of the coast of Alabama. So check this out. This is the Coosa Riverkeepers Association or River Improvement Association, and they have little floats and stuff, and they do things and clean up their river and whatever. So there's an article today, Lost and Found, talking about the Perdita River and about how it's completely undeveloped. And if you're going down Old Pensacola Road, 112 from Bay Minette, and you remember where you used to turn on 87 where the old gas station was, Rains? Off Old Pensacola going to the beach house? So if you go just past that, there's Ray Road, and there's another one down here, Duck Road. But anyway, I have put in way the hell up here before, and there are a couple of big snags on this leg. It takes as long to do this leg as it does the rest of the river. So many switchbacks and dragovers. But this is wildlife management area. There are a few little campsites here and there, but talk about an underutilized resource. It just blows my mind that everybody in Baldwin County doesn't go down this little piece of river. Wonderful resource. And, of course, on the Florida side, there's all kind of public launches and parking lots.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful access.
Tube running, everything.
Yeah. Bob's Canoe Rentals down here at the bridge. Let me find where it crosses. Well, we don't quite get there. But anyway, Bob's is right down here. And if you keep going, you go under I-10 and end up in the Perdita River. In the Perdita Bay. Our legislative delegation and the way that they drew these maps and the fact that there's a bunch of Jake legs from Mobile County representing people in Baldwin County really upsets me. And the idea that we can't nest these districts is a bunch of bull. And Mr. Pringle, the press lets you off very easy.
The press lets everybody off very easy. Yeah, press lets everybody off easy. Nobody's accountable whatsoever.
So, Jerry Carl has proposed new federal legislation to protect the underwater forest.
Right.
Do you know what Jerry Carl came out and said yesterday?
What?
it's time to get started on the toll bridge.
Oh, my God.
He's all for it. It's all hands on deck. We're all drank the Kool-Aid.
That's what they had to do. They had a big Kool-Aid party, and everybody drank it.
That's right.
And now, so where are you going to go for the money? You're going to go to the federal government, and what particular state in the United States is sticking their finger in the eye of the federal government more than anybody else? Alabama.
And in particular, our Attorney General.
And then you're going to hold out your other hand and ask them where the money is for a bridge. I wonder how this works.
So I don't like the brinksmanship that's going on in our court system. And I don't like the fact that this is continuing when all legal scholars know that eventually this will be an issue. It will be unconstitutional for anyone to dictate what happens once the doctor closes the door.
Right.
At least that's how I understand life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and when the government should not be involved.
Right.
And this is just another farcical idea that there are all these people out there that want to ban abortions. I just don't believe it. And the thing that really makes me mad is when you ban a book. If your children are so underprepared for life that they aren't tough enough to read a book that challenges their perceptions, well, then that's your fault as a parent.
Right.
If you're afraid that some book's going to influence your child.
And you're going to let somebody else make a determination which book they can read.
Yeah.
Wake up.
Why aren't you handing your kid a book and telling them to read it?
Wake up.
Ugh. Alabama lawmakers file bill mirroring Texas's federal heartbeat 10,000 bounty abortion law. California governor to use Texas abortion law tactics to target assault rifles. I mean, it's just on and on, the ridiculousness. Oh, and most importantly, the redactions in the Hubbard case. Who the hell was Mike Hubbard parlaying with, trying to get himself out of jail, trying to influence our legislators? And why isn't there a special investigator?
Not in Alabama. You can do whatever the hell you want to, and you can probably get away. And, you know, Mr. Hubbard, I hope you spend every stinking day in that jail, because you probably deserve to be there more than most of the criminals that are there.
All Britain on gaming. I need not beat that horse again. Governor Ivey says she did really nice little 15 seconds long little video or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, hopefully not with an Indian casino on every corner. Mm-hmm. I don't know that she's got the shoulders anymore to fight it.
I'm pulling for the Maritime Museum to be a casino.
Hey, Raines, did you see this?
Wow. Yeah.
Who dat?
Jeff Bezos.
And
you know,
who?
he just got divorced. His wife got like half his fortune. Does he look like he gives a shit? Half a fortune seems to be doing all right.
Looks like he might give away a little more.
He still got him in some of those Amazon signature white jeans on.
I know. He looks like Randy Quaid going out to boogie, going out to disco.
He looks like Paul Schaefer in 1985.
He does look like Paul Schaefer, a young Paul Schaefer. Did you see this New York Times full page yet? I mean, Wall Street Journal ad. You need to teach your children.
What?
An ad that somebody ran. And Dr. Peterson thought it was interesting, and so did I. Anti-racism ad on the
I think.
Well, you heard the president's message at the beginning of the
right.
The message is clear. I think it's time to put the bait in water and let the crabs get to it. South Alabama, mask mandates. You know, just when we thought we were done with all this, everybody, and I think Auburn announced they were mandating masks again in the classroom, and I'm sure we'll be back to masking in the courthouses.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody realizes, and this was a foregone conclusion, that Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty on 5 of the 6 charges of trafficking children to this pedophile piece of shit.
They had some pretty heavy duty evidence on her.
Okay, so how come, like, this is buried on page 47, the charges were dropped against the corrections officers and then Jeffrey Epstein prison suicide?
Well, what are you going to charge him with?
I don't know, but
people commit suicide in jail all the time.
Really, you're just a Kool-Aid drinking son of a bitch, aren't you, Paul? Really?
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, I hadn't seen anything else. It's like the big lie. Everybody wants to believe that, or not everybody. Now the majority of people have really come around to thinking that.
Okay, well, if you don't think that this guy was a utility player, the intelligence community, you're out of your mind.
Oh, well, now he was a lot like McAfee. A lot of rich people, a lot of eccentrics, people that they think that they can use. They let them in the door, and then come to find out later on, they say, "Oh God, what do? We need to be, we don't want anything to do with this guy."
Mm-hmm. Ex-police chief slams Florida feds. He could lose his law license for that. Did you know that?
Well, wait a minute now. Why did he slam them for her conviction?
No, for not investigating it when Acosta was the attorney general.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry, federal prosecutor for that district.
Not looking at it much earlier on.
And Prince Andrew, just cap yourself. Just get it over. Hang yourself from London Bridge. You are toast, pal.
I think he and Bill were on the same plane.
And we talked about this pretty much. I
think go ahead.
Have you seen this? Dr. Robert Malone. So this podcast was removed from YouTube. He's one of the inventors of the original of the 9 original mRNA vaccine patents.
Right.
And anyway, he's got 100 peer-reviewed publications, and he's one of the guys saying he had COVID. He didn't understand that if you already had COVID, there were some potential risk in taking the Pfizer vaccine.
Right.
And he ended up having some major heart trauma from it.
Taking it after he had
COVID.
Right.
And everybody, the push to and also he goes into how ivermectin and some of these other horse paste and those type things have been stigmatized when they're actually a viable pearl on a string of drugs that are effective. Right. So anyway, all this stuff got removed. YouTube has removed Joe Rogan interview with Dr. Malone. Now I'm 100% certain that what he's saying is the truth and elites aren't happy. Why isn't Fauci and the CDC open for a national discussion with Dr. Malone, Dr. Peter McConnell, and instead of ignoring them and saying, what is the truth here? Why not have a showdown? So, Raines, on this one I said, you better hope the cops catch your ass.
I'll be damned.
Why would somebody light a concrete marker on fire?
I don't know.
There's a lot of strange people live in Key West now, I'm going to tell you.
I think it might be a hate crime because the menorah's over there, whatever that thing is.
Well, a couple of things.
Ain't no resident of Key West did that.
No, that's some dumbass for sure. Oh, a couple of things, Harry, is that I can forecast. I think we're going to be looking at nationally. The filibuster may come up a lot more than it ever did before.
Okay, well, let me tell you this. The one thing that will get me to D.C. with a sign in my hand is anybody trying to dick with the filibuster or the mechanics of government that have kept this republic in check these long 200 years.
Well, you might want to start building your sign.
I guess so.
Because I can see that coming. And those of you that
I'm going to go join the tribe out in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and those of you that live here locally in Baldwin County, used to be a group called Stacy, Haygood, and Elliott. And then it became Catalyst. And now today it is Scott Boone Consulting. They're all one and the same.
And it's a bifurcation. You got to remember Jonathan Gray's over here running around doing his thing, but then they work together on other projects.
Right. They're trying to convince you in Baldwin County that, there's no such thing as Catalyst or Scott Boone and consulting and everything. Watch on the 2022 elections in Baldwin County, and you're going to see them stack them up just like they did the last time.
Okay, so why would the Republican Party run a bunch of people against their very popular governor?
Because of Trump.
Oh my God! It's a terrible waste of money.
Yeah,
and it's a terrible waste of my attention.
Trump has got over $110 million mailed to him by people that should not have sent any money. They could have used it for better things, and that's where the money's coming from.
So you agree the state of Alabama has serious problems that have been neglected for years?
I would not be surprised if tomorrow the feds didn't step in and say, okay, Alabama, we're going to send you a bill and we're going to straighten out the prisons. Because what they have done is they have said they're going to spend $2.3 million. They've come up with bonds and robbed $400 from COVID. And this is what they're going to do. But they're doing nothing to solve the problem immediately. They're not bringing anything to the table to convince the feds other than, okay, we're going to throw a bunch of money at it. In 3 years, we'll be ready.
It's not a bunch of money.
That ain't going to work. What, $2.2 billion ain't a bunch of money? What the hell are you talking about?
The $400 million. They should have spent $2 billion 20 years ago on the prison system.
Well, correct, but I'm talking about they took $400 million of the COVID money and put it in prisons, and if we had the prisons right, we could have used that $400 in health care.
Or put it in people's pockets where it was supposed to go.
Somewhere, yeah.
So a major pressing, important issue in Alabama, Alabama State Representative Chip Brown is sponsoring legislation that will allow volunteer fire departments to use tax money to buy water and Gatorade. Now, I'm not shitting you. This is what people spend their time writing legislation about. When we have all these problems. So, Mr. Brown, I wanted to give you a good close-up so everybody can see you, so you'll please stop doing stupid things like this.
And everybody's going to stand behind him.
Do your job, man.
They're going to stand behind him while he says
this is something about.
I hope.
I think he was proposing a bill giving judges more leeway in denying bonds for people.
Brown, the Gatorade, man.
You know Mayor Brown over there in Daphne? This is his son that ran for everything over here. Couldn't get elected, so he ran over there.
All right.
Yeah. So, Raines, I got some good news and I got some bad news.
New York Post.
The good news is they don't know it's yours.
New York Post.
But almost 1 in 10 moms isn't sure who fathered their baby.
1 in 10?
I'd be anxious to see the data set of that poll.
Oh, right. Well, that's on my Twitter. Please go follow it. And we are saddened by the passing of Betty White.
God bless her.
Yep. She served during World War II as a member of the American Women's Voluntary Services.
And one of her passions in life was animals. And one of the things that she said that made her have the ability to live to be 99 plus was her absolute optimistic look on life. She was always positive-minded, and if you had a bitch or wanted to complain, she didn't really have time to listen to it. So you wouldn't be listening to this show.
That's right. The three of us have outlived our.
But that's the one thing I get criticized for more than anything else is that I sound like a disgruntled old man, and the people that know me really, really well say, well, you're so damn optimistic, I can't stand it. So I get it from both sides.
So, Paul, the Corps has kicked out 206 Marines so far for refusing the vaccine.
Right, and out of the 206, probably 205 wanted to get out of the Marines.
Oh, yeah.
So this was the easiest way out. And be sure now, when they 206 get out, they're not getting out on an honorable discharge.
So this is Private Santiago's way off of Rifle Security Company Windward. Mm-hmm. I hear you.
Yep.
All right, so Alabama. In another gripe, I have to talk. We haven't been talking coronavirus for quite some time. But now I have to talk about it again. Alabama reports more than 8,000 new COVID cases.
8,000.
December 30th.
So what's your New Year's resolution, Harry?
Well, there are several. One of them is that I'm going to get back on the Baldwin County Sewer Service stuff.
Yeah. Well, we never got off of that, actually.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I haven't been to a meeting. I haven't been harassing the powers that be about it. So here's the totals: 54.9 million infected in the U.S. with SARS-CoV-2, with 825,870 deaths. U.S. hits record high with nearly 500,000 COVID cases in a single day. That was this morning, or I guess it was the count from yesterday. So it turns out that the podcast I was talking about, the Joe Rogan podcast, one of the things that remember how I was telling you my tinnitus was acting up or whatever?
Right.
Well, that's another sign that you may be having hypertension from it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what happened to Dr. Malone. So, anyway, I still have a little in the background, but not as bad as it was. It's starting to wane a little bit. And I guess we're not going to get one of these. I keep going to the CDC website. I think it would be like way over here, other side of measles, if we talked about transmissibility or whatever. Oh, hotspots last week, hotspots this week. You see we're up, Paul.
Right.
And no deaths, but check this out. Oh, no, that's last time. Check this out. Cases per day.
146.
Up from
12. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Increase in new cases over the last week, 165%. Mo Brooks is still in the lead, but not for long.
Mo Brooks' participation in the insurrection on January 6th will cost him the election.
I certainly hope that people will not simply vote for whoever Donald Trump is shaking hands with. My goodness, people.
We can only hope.
Grim milestone, 2021 tied for Mobile's deadliest year in 2 decades. I think it was 51 homicides.
Right, so let's not have a permit. You can just go get a gun.
The Baldwin County Major Crimes Unit is still in existence, even though it's a figment of the sheriff's imagination. It now has legal standing because of a ruling that was made this year where the Lanyap had asked for some body cam footage.
And it's convenient if you're investigating yourself to make everything look like you're cleared of anything. Let me say too, Harry, that no citizen should be afraid of constructively criticizing the police.
Oh, unless they have a badge that they have to use to get in and out of the courthouse to do their, to make a living, and they can start screwing with you then.
Right, when the police,
with impunity. And constitutional sheriffs are extremist, dangerous, and unconstitutional. Everybody needs to go read up on that because I believe our sheriff is a member of that group. Yeah, so they had a raid down in New Orleans. They found these 5 missing children and 30 sex offenders.
Good God.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the one in, where was it, Mississippi, killed 3 and wounded 3 or 4? This was not Ocean Springs, but, damn, it was right there in
Biloxi.
Was it Biloxi?
It was Biloxi. Mm-hmm.
New Year's Eve party sounded like a nice party. Everybody wanted to get drunk, do a little drugs, bring your gun.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why you got to check those at the door.
Right.
You got a rip report for us this time?
It is going to be probably Monday Madness. I'm taking off for the weekend and recovering from New Year, but my New Year resolution is to do everything that I've been doing the last 15 years to try to expose white-collar crime and corruption. Speak up as loud and as forcefully as I can, file the proper complaints that we do. And also, I'm really going to work hard this year on a new project that we're going to be talking about a good bit, and that is Murray Bubba Lawrence, who is incarcerated at Atmore for a murder that he did not commit. And we're going to be working.
Let me put it to you this way, Paul.
All right.
I've read many a trial transcript.
Right.
And I don't know what happened to Brandon Hastings, but it ain't what Hoss Mack testified to on the stand.
Or Judge Welters ruled on.
I can't talk
David
about
Whetstone.
that. I can't talk about that. But I can tell you.
I can.
The investigative process in this thing is a joke.
A joke. There's no investigative. Let me tell you, when you watch these crime shows, and I'm sure everybody has watched a crime show, what's the first damn thing you see on the crime show? Let's do a timeline. There was never any timeline. The timeline is set up, is in the whole trial transcript. You got to go through the trial transcript, and that's what I'm doing now, is doing the timeline. It's actually physically impossible that this guy had anything to do with it.
Anyway, you'll
And
be
it's
hearing
their
about it
timeline.
on 60 Minutes or 2020 or
48 hours.
Yeah,
they'll
this case won't die here. So
Nope.
anyway, you already talked about this, the privilege and the root cause of division. We talked about the teen being critically injured in a boat crash in Fairhope.
Right, and you know, when people put out podcasts like we do, or somebody else does, and they make certain allegations, and then the news station reports on an accident and tells you what's going on, aren't you interested in what happened? No, but this just sealed up. Not a word has been said since this happened now.
Nothing to see here. Move along.
Right.
Jonathan Armstrong seeks a return to the county commission.
I guess he's going to give up his other job.
I guess so. I mean, we'll find out. The Porch Creek Indians or expand their operations in Chicago and or else around the world. The Drug Festival, May 20th through the 22nd, 2022. Proof that Robert Kraft cares nothing about his citizens and residents.
Well, one thing's for sure, I hadn't heard of one of those damn bands that are listed there.
So I have a modest proposal.
Oh boy.
Since they didn't go with my idea of retain and explain, you know,
Right.
because Admiral Sims has been standing here at the entrance to. Did you know that he was standing there before they dug the tunnel under him?
No.
That they centered the tunnel under his statue.
Really?
Oh yeah, but shit, knock him off. So while we're looking for someone to put up on the pedestal,
E.O. Wilson.
I mean, can you come up with a better guy?
The Ant-Man.
The Ant-Man. Darwin's natural heir.
Biodiversity invented the word. Right here in Mobile Bay, born in Birmingham. And do you think we would listen to him on anything? No.
Oh, I'm sure not.
Uh-uh.
Well, anyway, maybe he won't be relegated to the back of the bus.
You should get one of his books, though, people. You would really thoroughly enjoy it. How he just completely got into, studying ants, and it was very critical at one time. His argument was that there were genetic links to behaviors in humans, and at the time it was widely controversial. Anthropologists hated the idea and were scared that the information might be misused. But he also started that bank of biodiversity where I cannot quote how many things are in there, but basically anything you want to research you can find through it. But interesting book. We're going to miss him quite a bit. E.O. Wilson.
I got a tall tale for you.
Oh, boy.
We'll go from science to something else. Mm-hmm. Did you ever hear of Prince Maddock?
Nope.
He was a Welsh explorer who landed on the shores of Mobile Bay in 1170.
1170, wow.
And left behind with the Indians the Welsh language. Authority is Encyclopedia America, copyright 1918, Webster's Encyclopedia. So anyway, they found Roman coins in the fort in Tennessee, and also the white Indians that were observed in Tennessee and the Missouri River Valley.
Well, I tell you what, I got a new respect for the Indians at that time in 1170 if they could learn the Welsh language.
Is it pretty rough?
I mean, that's pretty damn good, isn't it, right?
So there were some. Nancy Worley, the former Alabama
Right.
Democrat Party chair, died this week, and a lot of people said ugly things about her on Twitter. I was one of them. I did not like Ms.
Well,
Worley.
the Democratic Party has been in a shambles for years. They haven't been able to
And it's her and Joe
agree.
Reed's fault.
Well,
they ran it in the ground.
Yeah,
so
they hadn't been
say
able
what
to
you
agree
want
on
to.
anything. They didn't. They couldn't even come up with who they wanted to sponsor in the last governor's election. For Christ's sakes.
Yeah, I'm not one of those. Oh, they're dead. We can't talk bad about them. Frank
Well,
Burt would be a good example of that.
Yeah, I'm not talking bad about it. I'm talking about factually.
Right.
And the party.
Speaking of factually, I have good news, Rains. We need to disseminate this all around the world as soon as possible.
Women who have more
definitely,
sex.
Apparently, the women in Alabama are sex starved.
I'm doing my part, man.
Well, it might be just the reverse. It might be women with better developed brains
Have more sex.
have more sex.
I didn't think about that, Mr. Rip. Damn.
Really.
All right, so anybody got any last-minute thoughts?
Have a good year, everybody. 2022's got to be better than 2021, and we're not going anywhere. We're going to continue doing what we're going to do, and eventually, I'm sure we'll work our way into some sort of trouble that we'll have to get out of. But we're going to continue to preach the truth and expose people that we think need to be exposed, and we're pretty much going to take on the attitude of some of the journalists, I think, that work at Lanyap, which is one of the leading journalists, investigative journalists in the state, and that is that we're going to do our job and bring you the information, and if you sit idly by and sit on your hands and don't do anything about it, well, then we've done our job.
That's the biggest Festivus bitch of them all.
Right. All right, so what you going to close here with, Harry?
Well,
this is going to make everybody really pissed off. This is
maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So
is this actually the truth, Harry, or is this
so?
Fiction?
I called this the Smokey and the Bandit CLE run because I had to do like 9 hours of CLEs before the stroke of midnight.
And
on the
CLEs
31st,
are
continuing legal education credits.
Right.
So anyway, I'm sitting here, and this is the general counsel for the Alabama State Bar, and he's telling us about all these new changes that are coming to the rules of professional responsibility and how lawyers get in trouble and all this.
Now this is the same bar that we sent the complaint to about the executive director of the
this
Ethics
is the
Commission.
but this is the Fight Club component. I want y'all to. This is the Fight Club component. So pay attention, please.
Every week, Tyler gave the rules that he and I decided.
Gentlemen, welcome to Fight Club. The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
Can an Alabama lawyer be sanctioned for private conduct, which is usually conduct having nothing to do with their practice of law? The answer is yes. Rule 8.4 says it is professional misconduct for a lawyer to under the D subpart, engage in conduct that is prejudicial to the administration of justice. And G, it's professional misconduct to engage in any other conduct that adversely reflects on his fitness to practice law. So that's usually where we have to weigh in on lawyers' conduct when it doesn't have to do with their practice. Typical 8.4G cases we see are when attorneys get arrested, someone gets a DUI, someone gets a public intoxication, maybe a lawyer gets a domestic violence charge. Things that don't have anything to do with their private practice, but they still can be subject to discipline. We're seeing more and more social media outbursts, where lawyers are just really doing and saying outrageous things on social media, and that's getting them in trouble. And then lastly, kind of any outrageous conduct that although it might not be criminal, it is certainly outrageous, and you can be subject to discipline. Here's a recent case that we just prosecuted. Now, I'm sure everybody on here can read, so I'm not going to read this into the recording because it's some pretty offensive stuff. But this is a lawyer in Alabama who we prosecuted for saying these pretty egregious things, what I would consider to be racist and misogynist stuff. Luckily, this was a call that was recorded by a customer service representative.
Some guy cussing out Amazon.
Sent this to us, and when we got the recording, we prosecuted it. and we prosecuted this case, we actually asked for disbarment. The panel that we tried the case in front of came back with a 2-year suspension. We chose not to appeal that because we just, we felt good about the result and didn't want to risk it getting cut down any. So we didn't appeal it. However, we had another case with this individual go up on appeal, and this case actually came up. And based on the oral argument, I believe that there was a significant majority of the court that probably would have upheld disbarment had we appealed it. So because of that experience, these are more and more cases that we're probably going to give a closer look at. So I say that just to kind of inform you of some of the stuff that we're looking at right now. A couple of additional remarks before I move on. I mentioned that of the 1,300 complaints we get, about 74% of those are screened out. And what happens is we get a complaint on the lawyer, we give that lawyer an opportunity to respond, and when they respond, we usually screen it out just on the paper. Another thing that's kind of going on in the Office of General Counsel, the task force, basically looking at our past cases and trying to determine if there's any impact on women, minorities, rural and solo practitioners. And so we're really excited about the diversity.
What about engines?
Any of the recommendations.
They left us engines.
74% are just put in the trash can.
And then lastly,
here we go.
There are some proposed advertising rule changes that are going to be rolled out soon. And so we're really excited about those. We're taking the opportunity to upgrade or to update our advertising rules, and we're really excited about that. Just kind of high level, these are proposed changes. They're not final. But one of the proposed changes is basically getting rid of the word advertising. The American Bar Association did this back in August of 2018 because what is and is not advertising is really a blurred line now, given the era of social media.
So everything I do from now on is an advertisement or a communication.
Right. At the ABA level, in part to capture a lot of the social media content. Under the current rules,
so now you're Fight Club in that too.
Any advertisement, you're supposed to send that to our office within 3 days. We're looking to reverse that and basically just create a situation where you have to retain your advertisements for a period of 6 years, and you'll no longer have to send those to us. Part of the 6 years is because that's the statute of limitations on lawyer grievances, and so that's the reason for the 6 years. And then the last two kind of bullet points is we want to update the rules to increase disclosure. So when people are advertising, some of the things they might, we believe that they should disclose are the city, county, and town. So for example, if your face is on the billboard and you're not in Alabama, you need to put that on your billboard. Similarly, if you're advertising in Alabama and you're not licensed in Alabama, you probably need to disclose that. So those are some of the changes we're hoping will get passed.
And so,
if you're executive director of the Ethics Commission and an attorney, and the complaint is sent to the Bar Association, they're more worried about your social media account than the attorney,
I think you're
executive director, trustee taking advantage of the trust.
I think you're missing the point here. What I'm trying to point out is that I could possibly be disciplined for all kinds of things that I say and have said. And essentially, if you're an attorney in Alabama, you don't have a right to speak your mind.
Well, that seemed to go quite well with everything else that we're doing in Alabama. That doesn't surprise me in the least.
Mr. Russian, any Festivus thoughts on that Rule 7?
I really got nothing over here. It's a challenging weekend here at the Russian Ranch, so I apologize. I haven't been in fighting form today, but we'll be back around in a week or so.
Would you back up so I could see your sweatshirt, please, sir? You have on the wrong sweatshirt. Ho, 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 my rear end. All right. Hour and 23 minutes. Not too shabby.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, everybody. Happy Festivus.
Be safe.
So y'all need to hide your kids,
hide your
wives, and hide your husbands because they raping everybody out here.